MyFantasySportsTalk.com.
Last week on My Fantasy Podcast.
A lot of great college basketball this week. Big Ten ACC Challenge. I don't know if you've caught any of those games. I got burned by your boy, Josh Pastner last night.
Buzzer, that little chump.
Burned. Yeah, that was rough. But for some reason, Georgia Tech loves Josh Pastner. I mean, I don't know if they did this at Memphis games, but
No, he was a nerd at Memphis. He was a complete nerd. And those guys look like nerds. They look like complete nerds.
I was watching the game with a friend, and he was like, "What? Who has an afro?" And it's like, it doesn't really look like Pastner's hair, but it's like afro. It was just kind of weird, and I didn't know if Memphis did that to celebrate the wonder of their coach, who's soon going to be an NCAA investigation. But you love them now because the violations are coming ahead.
What's up, podcast peeps? How you doing? Glad you're back with us. Another podcast here from My Fantasy Podcast and MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Brandon Reed here. I thought I was going to have a huge show lined up for you today, and I do, topic-wise, but I mean huge as in a mass audience, a mass participation, mass group participation, and it didn't happen. I thought I was going to have myself, of course, my co-host Dan Schalk. Thought I was going to have Orlando Torres, Ryan Thomas, and DDT on the show, but guess what, folks? First of all, I want to send condolences to Dan Schalk. The reason he is not going to be on the podcast, folks, is he actually had 2 deaths in the family this week, in the immediate family. So prayers go out to Dan Schalk. I know they're dealing with it. No one ever wants to go to 2 funerals in the same week. So that's just tough. So prayers to him. He'll get back at it as soon as possible. But I do have some comments from Dan on a few of our questions. So we got that to look forward to. And Orlando Torres just had a family emergency. So that guy you just saw, guess what, folks? It's DDT. DDT, you're playing my co-host today.
Wow, I got promoted.
Yes, he kind of seems like it, huh?
I got promoted. No, man. No, of course. I'm always happy to come on and fill in, and always happy to cause more chaos and ruckus. At least you don't have to deal with me and Ryan Thomas at the same time.
That's true. I'm not sure that this will be quite the rowdy scene, just me and you. But I don't think you're going to have any problem helping me fill time in talking.
We'll have enough time. We got a lot of stuff to go over. Like you have a long set list of stuff. So there's a ton of stuff going on this week. Weekend was crazy, just sports related. Just this week alone has been phenomenal. So happy holidays.
Yeah, huge everywhere. I mean, just so much going on. Even right there in your own backyard with some Yankees baseball breaking news this week. So, but here's kind of the rundown. Here's kind of the rundown that DDT was referring to. So, what I want to do today is, first of all, we're going to talk about the Ball family situation. Sorry, I hate to do it. DDT, man, I'm kind of ashamed, because I hate I get suckered into this because the dude really shouldn't be taking so much of my time in time on Facebook and arguing with folks on the Facebook groups and everything like that. He really shouldn't, but just something about this dude really drives a nerve at me. So a lot going on with that crazy family. We'll get into that and talk about that. Carson Wentz went down, of course, as you saw this week. Done for the season. There goes that probably best team in the NFC's chances of winning the Super Bowl, most likely. It's going to be hard to win without their leader. Yankees-Marlins trade I want DDT's take on that. And then sorry, Orlando is going to miss this one. I set it up just for him, man. I threw him the alley-oop, and then all of a sudden he's on the bench. But we'll get his take on that next week for sure. We'll know a little bit more because Kawhi is back making his debut last night. Crazy Lakers Knicks game. I know that me and DDT both watched. We've got a whole big mailbag full of mailbag questions that we'll get into as well, submitted by you guys. So thanks a lot each and every week for submitting those questions. Then we may talk about MFST and our fantasy leagues. We may talk about the site, what's going on there, whatever we can do to fill the time here and entertain you for as long as we can, me and DDT. So, DDT, man, first of all, I know we were just talking. Crazy game last night in the Garden. The Lakers. Lonzo Ball's debut in Madison Square Garden was pretty good with everybody in attendance. His father, and of course Magic Johnson and Spike Lee. Great game, man. I actually watched most of it.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of that. It was probably one of the best games I've watched from the Knicks this year. Definitely, I was high on Lonzo Ball coming in, but he actually made, in the fourth quarter, some really big mistakes, which, again, if you were to be very one-sided against him, as many of the media and the public are, oh, he's not a good player, he's making turnovers, he's a rookie. So you got to give him time. That was his first guarding game. For his first guarding game, I give him an A. Because with your father sitting there courtside with New York Knicks' biggest fan, Spike Lee, 3-4 seats away from you, and then...
And doesn't that kind of got to be on your mind, too? Because you never know what the hell your dad is going to do or say in the game.
I wasn't really focused on him. And I was really more focused on the game, but there were times where I just looked as, like, in the fourth quarter especially, when they were panning over to, the fourth quarter side and the Lakers had the ball, just staring at what he's doing. He just kind of sat there. He was very still. You could see him yelling, like cheering on and stuff like that, but definitely not as outlandish as we commonly see him. But certainly after the game, that was where we saw there's a little bit more tension in the Lakers LeVar Ball relationship. ESPN reported, I believe 10 minutes exactly after the game, caught on Facebook, that they had a sit-down, quote-unquote, with LeVar Ball to ask him to tone it down and to allow for a better atmosphere for Lonzo Ball to play in. And I couldn't agree more. I'm pretty sure Magic Johnson, like you said, he was at the game, was sitting well on the other side of the court, away from him, and really
intentionally. You got to know that was probably intentionally.
Oh God, I feel for Magic so bad because this is his first year running a team. We were so high on him coming into this year before the Lonzo Ball drama started.
Magic's finally going to have to get. He's eventually going to have to get ugly with it. I'm sorry, but he's eventually going to get
that scowl on. He's got to put that scowl on.
Right.
And it's not something we were used to because Magic Johnson is a positive guy, and he wants. And don't get me wrong. I think he really wants to believe in Lonzo Ball. He's pushed a lot on him. He's made him the center of the team, and he wants to build with him. But clearly Lonzo Ball cannot carry a team in his rookie year, nor is he going to carry him in his sophomore.
Brandon Ingram, although he had a bad game last night, really is their best player. He should be. He's got some development to do, but he really is their best player and should be. But DDT, man, we'll get into that in just a second. We got a lot of ball family talk to talk about that. We'll get into that a little bit more. We'll get into your Yankees a little bit. But something else I wanted you to touch on real quick because we don't have it on the rundown today, but a lot of Champions League stuff going on the website, myfantasysportstalk.com this week. So fill us in on what you and Graham Sweet were writing about.
Yeah, I read Graham's piece. I loved it, too. Champions League will resume in February. The round of 16 was drawn up on Monday, very early Monday morning. So I put out my predictions of who's going through. I pretty much see most of the Premier League teams going through except for the Spurs. Otherwise, the picks are pretty much the basics. I don't think I have too many upsets in there. And it's going to be a great Champions League because we got a lot of English football. And the English teams are very good. Manchester City's on top of the table. But, of course, you got to worry about Real Madrid, Barcelona, and then obviously Bayern Munich. Those are the top teams. PSG is in there, but it's good to see teams like Manchester United back in the Champions League. That's my club. I love following them. It's good to see them back. Roma is in it, and they've just been going through so much financial turmoil with that team. So it's so good to see certain teams in this year's tournament, and I'm looking forward to it.
So kind of catch the casual soccer fans like me. I think I'm a little bit more than casual. I can't say that because I've told you before. I've admitted to it. I'm not into club soccer at all. I love international soccer. Watch every piece of it, even women's. But the club, so the Champions League. So what you're telling me is through the European leagues and English leagues, they take some of the best teams from those club teams from those leagues, and they meet in a Champions tournament throughout Europe.
Here, I'll take you back through it. And for those of you who are watching the podcast, please go back and look at my group stage predictions. I put out a Champions League group stage prediction well back earlier in the soccer season. What happens is that teams that qualified last season through whether placement in their leagues, for example, in the Premier League, you must finish in the top 4 spots in order to qualify for a Champions League spot to play in the big tournament. Other teams can play their way in by winning a certain cup title, or certain teams winning certain games, yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of ways to qualify. But essentially, once these teams qualify, they are placed in groups of 4, 8 groups of 4, and the top 2 teams in each group, depending on points gained per game, will progress to the round of 16. It'll then break down to a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and then the final, which I believe is being played in Kiev, in Russia. I believe this year is where the Champions League will be played in the final, which is the same place as the World Cup, which is in Russia this year. So
you know what that kind of reminds me of, DDT? That kind of reminds me of what the college football playoff needs to be. You take the few of the best teams from each conference and then have them play in a mega tournament. It would be huge.
It would be amazing. It would be, and thank you for bringing this up, because this is literally what I was thinking about all day. What if college football did this? You took 2 teams from each conference. You place them in a round of 16 or whatever conference you want. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's so many conferences. It would be huge to figure it out. But they have been talking about expanding the college football playoff, I believe, to 8 teams. I believe in 2019.
That's the next move whenever the current deal runs out. But, I mean, 8 would be a lot better than 4 to me. They need to increase it. I preferably would love 16. I think that would solve everything. But I think 8 is going to solve a lot, too.
It would be huge. And 16 teams – I think the biggest thing, though, is that with 16 teams, what people are worried about, which is a really, really stupid worry to have, is what if USF beats Alabama? Good.
Well, then great. Good. You didn't see Butler in the NCAA tournament for several years. You didn't see George Mason. Was that bad for basketball?
When you go to March Madness, you're seeing teams like what was that team that beat Duke a couple of years ago that no one saw coming? Like William and Mary, for example. William and Mary, or Central Florida Coast. That was the team.
Florida Gulf Coast, yeah. The Florida Gulf Coast that went to the Final Four.
And they went like what? Like to like the Sweet 16, like the Elite 8, or I don't know.
I think they made the Final Four. I think Florida Gulf Coast made the Final Four.
Yeah, like things like that are amazing to watch in sports alone. College football needs that, because honestly, I'm not as big a college football fan as I am a college basketball fan.
Completely agree. And it's all because of the playoff to me. They have the worst way of deciding a champion of any sport in the world. Rodeo. I don't know nothing about rodeo, but I'm sure they have a better system of deciding a champion than college football.
Well, they keep it competitive. That's the thing. And that's why I watch soccer so much. It's the most highly competitive sport in the world, because every team, there are hundreds of teams across the world, and any small team could beat any big team. And we need that layer of competition. It's why we gripe so much about the NBA being so top heavy, and why we're going to gripe about the Yankees having everybody like Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge and the team they have. People are going to gripe because competition is not level. They want to see a team that's low get a chance to beat a team that's high. People like to see that. It's just level competition.
It's the unknown. I mean, give me some kind of surprise here. But here's my thing with college football, and sorry to get off topic of the soccer talk. We'll talk about that in a second. But you're right though. It really does nail down a great college football conversation. Here's my biggest problem with the college football, and thank you, greater NCAA powers that finally did come through and get hit in the head hard enough to say, yeah, I think we need a playoff. and expanding it to, or at least creating it with 4 teams. But here's my problem with that. You got 5 Power 5 conferences. So not even all of your best conferences would ever be represented in a playoff. It's impossible. The numbers don't add up. So you got to have at least more than 5. It's a joke to me, man. And the bowl games, I say this every single year. The bowl games mean nothing to me. They really don't. They really don't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to me. It's not like playing for a champion. So what? You get to call yourself the Beef O'Brady Bowl champion. Who cares? I just don't care about that. So, 8 would solve a lot of problems because you at least, I would hope, get the champion or the best team out of the Power 5 conferences and maybe the second best, and then maybe a surprise team like Central Florida in the AAC would have a chance, and include them in there. So I think that would be a lot better. Big steps to at least expand it to 8.
Remember, this was an experiment. They didn't know this was going to work. Now that they're seeing it's working because people are getting upset about it.
It was going to work. It was going to work.
Oh, hey, listen. Team leagues will change playoff formats that could be drastically horrible, like the NBA is about to do, which I don't know if it's going to work or not. But
I don't think that'll ever pass. That'll never pass.
I think it might work.
I think it'll be more entertaining. It would be I think it'd be more competitive and a lot more like March Madness, but I don't want that. It's not what traditional pro sports leagues are made of. You have a East, you have a West, an American, a national, whatever.
Yeah, well, it does kind of, I don't know. Give it a shot. I was intrigued by the idea. I also had doubts about it, but you got to see something out in order to know if it's going to work or not. And that's what the college football playoff was. They saw it out. It works, and they now need to tool on it. It needs work on.
I think their only problem was because of the bowl game situation. The bowl games were always scheduled so late, and they didn't want to take the prestige out of those bowls, like the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. They wanted to make those still a big games with your big-time teams, your Clemson and Alabama, for example, in the Sugar Bowl. So you still have that prestige, but you don't have to go that far with it because you just wait one more week and play a championship game. If you do more than 4 teams, I think they're worried about, well, what happens to the Sugar Bowl now? Do we have, the 8th and 9th best team in it because we can't wait because we're playing a 8 or 16 team playoff? I think that's part of it too, the timing thing. But this is what drives me crazy about college football too. What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? You're wasting, the time, but you realize how long it's going to be between Alabama games? Because typically they're in the SEC championship. They weren't even in the SEC championship this year. So they ain't played a game in like 5 weeks.
Yeah, they're probably sitting there reeling too because it's just they don't get their players healthy. They don't keep their players fresh for the next game. But the thing is also, I think that's another concern they have in expanding. They don't know how teams are going to handle playing a day and then having to play 2 days later, because the tournament style, you're not going to get a week-to-week basis.
Well, that's what I'm saying with the tradition of the bowl games. You can't do that anymore. You can't keep that time frame. You have to start these playoffs like now, or in the next couple of weeks anyway.
You have to start in November and literally work your way up to, because the college football final is January 6th, right?
It'll be something like that. But this is what I mentioned on the podcast last week or a couple of weeks ago, is you have to eliminate the conference championship games. No one gives a flip except those teams. You could easily lose that, and I don't care. I think about Alabama wasn't even in it this year. So what? It was the best thing that could have happened to them.
Look what happened to Ohio State. They won it, and they didn't even get into the Final Four, which I find insulting. I find that insulting.
Big 12 too. Pac-12. So that's what I'm saying. You got to eliminate those games, and then we can start a little bit earlier. And then you use the excuse of school and finals and all that. Well, it's not like college basketball. You play, one game in 1 week. You can get around it. Come on now. That's ridiculous. When are you ever worried about the student athlete NCAA? Don't give me that BS.
We could rep UCLA was with the ball situation, but we'll get to that later. I can counter you on one. I can counter you on that, and we'll get into that later. But I can counter you on one good example of that.
Okay, well, I have no problem. We'll get into it. I think I know what you're talking about. But anyway, Champions League again. A lot from Graham Sweet on the site, and tell me again, when does all that get started? What's going on?
So it starts in February. I believe the first Champions League game is in the second week of February, and they're all played at the same time. So I believe they'll be in a series of 2 days. It'll be 4 games and 4 games. So they'll have their time. There's still match rescheduling that needs to be done because of the fact that these teams have qualified. Their current schedules in the league will change because of Champions League games. So to be determined. But for now, February is when Champions League will start. They'll get their final schedules, I believe, out in January, a month in advance. So we'll have that reported pretty soon. But
and you're always report. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. No, you're fine. Yeah, they'll usually report them a month in advance, but rescheduling is always being done constantly because the Champions League is not something you really schedule for in the beginning of your year.
Right.
This is something you have to play your schedule into your normal schedule.
Right.
So, for teams like in the Premier League, they got to worry about the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, Premier League, and now Champions League. It's a mess. So we'll see when the scheduling will be finalized.
We'll see. So that, and then very soon after that, World Cup 2018 in Russia.
Yeah, we're not in it, so I don't. I do care. I do care because
you care. You're gonna watch it, man. Come on.
I'm watching that cover to cover. I understand the United States is not in it, and if you guys,
it is going to be weird though without Italy too. The Netherlands. I mean, the Netherlands have always been one of my favorite teams. I don't know why. I kind of like their color scheme, I guess, but I've always liked them.
Orange and blue. It's weird, but yeah.
I like the orange and black. When they wear the orange and black, I like that.
Yeah, I love their uniforms in 2010 and 2014. They were all cool. But yeah, the World Cup's coming up. I put out a group stage predictions for that, and I will be covering that round by round. So I'll cover the round of 16, quarterfinals, just like I will do the Champions League. I'll be covering that tournament closely in the summer. I don't know who's going to win that. It is up for grabs. I think the best team is Germany.
Yeah, I was about to say Germany, probably the favorite.
Because their third string team played in the European Cup championships in 2016. They're third stringers, and they won. So imagine what their first team's going to do. And most of their third stringers are now first stringers. So Germany is so lethal. Belgium is great. England's good. Argentina with Leo Messi. Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo. But yeah, no United States this year. So it's going to be
Spain. Spain will probably be in the mix then.
Spain is in the mix, but I just don't think they have. I don't know. I would want to say Spain is good, but I always feel like Germany will always get that edge over them.
Yeah.
I feel even sometimes England and France are better than Spain sometimes.
Yeah.
Because their players are old. Spain is not as young as it used to be. They're a lot older now. Most of their starting lineup is 25 to 30. They're not in the 21 to 26 age they were 4 years ago. So,
yeah, they had their run. A lot of soccer coming up in 2018 to look forward to. Look forward to DDT's coverage. And I guess Graham Sweet's a big soccer guy too, so look forward to his coverage. Probably get Cesar Gutierrez back in here too at some point. So a lot to look forward to.
Toronto won their first MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Went from the worst team last year to the winner of the Cup. It's astounding what they've done with that team. So congrats to Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, United States national team head honchos leading that team. I think also there's a big name I'm missing. Oh, Sebastian Giovinco. He's another one on there. So yeah, great team. Seattle Sounders lost like terrible 2-0. It was awful to watch them in that game.
I thought I saw like that was I don't know, either the first shutout in the championship game or either like Seattle's second or something like that. It was some kind of shutout step.
Years ago, I can't remember who was in that. I believe it was the LA Galaxy shutout, maybe Montreal or no, not Montreal. I don't know who it was, but maybe DC. Oh God, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
So, but yeah, big news there. I mean, honestly, I didn't watch it because, like I said, I don't get into the MLS. But I saw that.
I just wanted to see who would win. I was like, oh wow, Toronto, good job for them.
Hey, I'm really surprised by the fan support in these clubs cities though. They really come out and support them. Like one of the coolest places I've seen is the Minnesota team. What do they call them? So they got the Lumberjacks or something.
Minnesota United. Excuse me, Minnesota.
But they got a lumberjack that like cuts the log. Who is that? Huh?
Well, that's the Portland Timbers.
Portland, yes. Portland, yes.
Yeah, they're so awesome. I went to a game at Yankee Stadium because I support New York City FC. New York City has the city itself, not the state of New York, but the city itself has its own team. And the Portland Timbers were in town, and their fans came all the way from across the country to support their team. That is one of the most loyal fan bases.
They got something crazy. It's like, I don't know if you've seen like their home games. They got a lumberjack out there, and he like saws off a log every goal they score or something like that.
Yeah, he saws a log like a madman. He's a madman on that thing. And I've always wanted to go to a Portland Timbers game just to kind of just take in the atmosphere and just kind of go live in that kind of environment.
I think all those clubs have pretty good support like that. From what little I do watch of it when I just flip through and watch it, it seems like most of those clubs, home cities, do support them and they come out. But I think the season is also played at a good time too, throughout kind of late summer, fall months.
Oh, that's great. I've seen Orlando City FC get great support, especially in the aftermath of the Pulse nightclub shooting. They put out 49 seats in rainbow colors for the victims, and the support that the club gives to the city and what it got back is astounding. Atlanta United has an amazing fan base. They are all in on that team. There's so many great clubs in this country that just have the best fan. Some are better than baseball or football fans, and they just don't get they never get they don't get the notoriety that they should. And
those are hardcore fans. You got a certain section.
Like how everyone has their gear where okay, it's my baseball gear, but then it switches to their basketball or whoever's left or whoever their team is. With soccer players and soccer fans in this country, it's year round. They're always repping their team, no matter what situation, no matter what conversation.
Always repping. That's what we're doing, repping MyFantasySportsTalk.com right now with My Fantasy Podcast. Myself, Brandon Reed, and DDT is on the line. Just the two of us today. So what we're about to do next is we're going to get into what's going on in the world. What's going on in sports? What's happening?
Here's what's happening.
So I alluded to it, DDT. I want to talk about this, although it's like punching myself in the face every time I do. But the Ball family saga, the Ball family situation. So I kind of got just a quick rundown here, a timeline of events that happened in just the last 6 months. Okay, so first, LeVar pulls his son out of multiple AAU games this summer, even went after a woman official in an AAU league game where they don't even play defense anyway. What the hell are you going after an official for? But don't get me started on that. To go after a woman official in an AAU summer league game where there's no defense, historically, notoriably, there's no defense in these AAU games. And you want to go after an official for anything? Come on, man. That's silly. So then he pulls LaMelo out of Chino Hills High School after yet another dispute with another coach of Chino Hills over some of the players that should or shouldn't be on the team. So you pull your kid out of high school, you're going to homeschool him. That ain't looking so good either right now. Then you pull your grown-ass man's son, LiAngelo, out of UCLA once he gets arrested in China for shoplifting. I don't care that the charges were dropped. A lot of people I've been arguing with on Facebook too. Well, the charges are dropped. That don't mean nothing. He did it. He was there. It happened. It was a national embarrassment. So anyway, you get back to UCLA, you get back to the States, and you're suspended indefinitely. Rightly so. You just went through a national incident, a national embarrassment that the president of the United States, whether should have stuck his nose in or not, he did. So it becomes even a bigger of a thing. So you have a dispute with yet another coach for not the first time at UCLA. So what's next? Okay, so we arranged for this for both of your teenage sons to play in a Lithuania. I have trouble saying that, Lithuania league.
I can't say it either.
I know. I mean, you catch me the right time, I can say it. But Lithuania. Lithuania. Yes, Lithuania. Someone has to tell me. But anyway, you arrange for them to play in a league in Lithuania. Lithuania. I did it again, man. But anyway, But anyway, there's many stories about that. People see that and like, oh, they're going overseas. They're about to play in Europe and make money. I don't think so. They're not even close, bub. Let's take a seat on that. And then you criticize Luke Walton over how your son is being treated. What do you want? It's always somebody doing you wrong. That's another characteristic of anybody I can't stand. Always somebody doing you wrong. So that just happened as we were talking about the Lakers coming to Madison Square Garden last night and the post-game comments. So that's just a little bit of the timeline over the last 6 months, DDT. As you can probably tell how I feel about it, I want to know exactly how you feel about it and going through those timeline of events that's happened over the last 6 months, how you feel about it each and every time some kind of incident pops up, and now the accumulation of all that crap over just since the summer.
Well, I won't pick it up from the AAU because I don't care about AAU basketball. I like the mixtapes that come out from it because these kids do amazing stuff. And so does LiAngelo, and so does LaMelo, and so did Lonzo. I watched all their mixtapes. They're phenomenal players. But I want to pick it up from China, where, and I had a conversation with my mother, who is one of my most favorite people to talk sports with ever, because she just has just a beautiful philosophic knowledge of sports. And way she phrased it, if the parents don't teach the child early, it's their fault. And the fact that your son goes to another country and his credit card gets declined is the reason why he stole. Then the other two players that were with him, he throws under the bus. And then your father pulls you out of UCLA, who advocated for you, who said, we need these students back in the States so they don't miss classes. This is an academic.
And what? Okay, then there you go. But in what I was going to say is, what does any of that have to do with Steve Alford? He didn't ask for any of that. None of that it's only affecting his program, but it's ridiculous stuff.
He has. Listen, if there's anyone who's had to soldier on through this process, it's been him and the UCLA team and that college. They did not ask for this. And I tell you right now, taking LiAngelo Ball out of UCLA was probably the best thing that's ever happened to that school in a while, since making the tournament last year and doing as well as they did.
No, he was gonna have more of a college career like his dad anyway. He was coming off the bench. He would have maybe averaged 2, 4, 5 points.
I'm not trying to come down on him for his playmaking ability. His playability is his playability. I'm coming down on him for the fact that you know right from wrong, and the fact that you did not take responsibility for your action. That's what bothers me so much about this situation with these, really just the three. I have no problem with Lonzo. Lonzo's trying to.
He's going to be the family savior when it's all said and done.
He is going to be the family savior because he's humble, and LeVar Ball is not humble. This man literally, and listen, I'm not trying to get political on this. I'm not trying to say President Trump didn't get your kids out of there, but if he had something, if he put in a phone call, give the man a Ball shirt, okay? And he sent him one red, white, and blue pair of big baller brand sneakers. Whatever, you are absolute laughing stock, Mr. Ball, and I hope he hears this. He's a laughing stock. And I feel bad.
What's funny is, I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because what's funny is I think of them as almost the same damn person. They have so much alike. They're so much alike. They just talk without fact-based.
Are you kidding me? LeVar Ball is probably going to be his next Secretary of State. I mean, come on.
They're so much alike to me, which is kind of weird. I didn't think this would lead to a feud between the two, especially when Trump got involved, because I didn't think the two would ever butt heads. I'm like, damn, this is the same damn person.
They are butting heads. And listen, with the Ball brothers going to Lithuania, I cannot say this.
Lithuania. Let's see, it's my turn there. Lithuania.
Thank you. Here's something I read today. And this is a quote. This is a crazy quote. This is off Bleacher Report, saying that the coach is selling meat to the players at the trunk of his car.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what in the name good and holy.
They say he acts a lot like LeVar Ball too. Like he's pulled his team off the floor before. He goes to kicking stuff.
I mean, thank God Lonzo went to the Lakers and to Magic Johnson, because Magic Johnson's going to take him in his arms and just listen to me, young man. I don't care how good or bad you are. You cannot be a part of what your father's brand represents. Because I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen Michael Rappaport's review of the shoes,
I did. Look at them shits.
I mean, Michael Rappaport's my man, because this dude's a bona fide G. But man, I don't know what's up with this family. They have such a great story of a father who literally broke his back and worked for every dollar he had to put those boys in a situation to succeed. But it's once the fame got to them, the father sucked it in.
It became too much about him. I really think he holds a little bit of, that he didn't really have a pro. Now, he played like semi-pro football for just a minute. Basketball was never his sport.
He got drafted by the Jets. You know that, right?
He didn't play, though.
He was garbage. That's why he was hot garbage.
And he played, I don't remember if it was Canadian Football League. It was some semi-pro league that he actually played a little bit in for like 2 years, maybe.
My point to all this is, LeVar Ball, he is news because of the fact that America has never seen fatherly intervention like this, and they can't deem it if it's right or if it's wrong. Because if there's one thing we know about the status of a black father in the United States of America, we give them the narrative that they don't take care of their children. And when we see one that does and it goes over the top, people don't know whether to deem it degrading to a son or uplifting. And until we see some success in either of those three boys, to see them grow up to be good, strong, able men.
Well, I think we are with Lonzo, but I mean, when does LeVar finally shut up? You're almost there. You're making it too much about you. I mean, I agree with your point 100% with the black father, and that's why I think a lot of people are pushing back, especially on Facebook this week with me.
Well, it's honestly the only time he's going to shut up is when it fails, which it could, and it's looking like it is, because your son ruined his college career, whether he would have had a good one or not. If he can't have one athletically, academically, UCLA is one of the top schools in the nation academically. You're talking about one of the trademarks, the landmarks of science and research.
And here's also where we are too, though, where it's seen as, at least in this particular situation, as graduating in 4 years and playing some basketball and getting a 4-year college degree is seen as a failure.
No, and this is why I can't stand the I loathe this. As someone who's watched sports and is starting to cover it professionally, I can't stand to see one and done college athletes. You have no idea the detriment you are in a league where you do not have a college degree. If you cannot be profitable off the court, you cannot be profitable on the court, because time in the NBA or the NFL is finite. You will one day retire, or you will one day get cut, or you will one day get hurt so bad you cannot go back in. If athletes are not watching these players getting concussions, Tom Savage twitching on the sideline from a tackle, you're not watching Shaquille O'Neal become a doctorate in business and economics from LSU, Kobe Bryant, a businessman, success. Players, look at Andrew Luck at Stanford. He would not report to training camp until he finished his degree at Stanford.
And you know what? This family may not fall, because I think, like we said, Lonzo may be the saving grace. But there are stories out there. Look at, if anybody's not familiar with this guy's story, someone we all should remember, Delonte West. Go look at Delonte West's story right now. It's sad. It's sad. When there's no more basketball, there's no more life, virtually. And it's sad. So
there's LeBron James's mom at the end of the rope. There was LeBron James's mom. Let's be real. It is one thing Delonte West is remembered for. It's for that huge controversy that made LeBron leave Cleveland. I mean, Delonte West made LeBron leave Cleveland. Is that what you want to be?
He's in a sad situation now too.
Look at D'Angelo Russell. Look what happened to him. D'Angelo Russell is a better player than Lonzo Ball. Can I be honest with you? He's a better player than Lonzo Ball. Where's he playing? In Brooklyn. Brooklyn is one of the worst teams in the NBA. They just got good now because they just got Jahlil Okafor from Philadelphia in a trade they made last week. That's still not going to make them any better. If D'Angelo Russell cannot get any favor with a team that knows he's the better player but took Lonzo Ball, what does that speak volumes to Leandro or LaMelo? You know.
So let me just kind of let's get it back on track though, and talk about this specifically. I got a few more points before we wrap up this conversation. So the Lithuania, this is ridiculous. Lithuania, the Lithuania team, Pirinu Vatutis, I took my shot at it. Okay, something like that. But anyway, it's a poor team in a poor farming community. As you talked about before, there's no malls. You talked about some of that stuff today, is the coach selling meat out of his trunk. There's no malls. There's no shops. There's nothing to do. There's nothing like that. They're going to play in a tiny gym. And check that out. That's the major Lithuania club league. Okay. What I'm hearing is they're not even playing for that. They would be playing for basically the G League affiliate of that team. Okay. Which is even worse. We're talking about a pay here of around average of $500 a month if they get paid at all. Also, this contract is not a year contract. It's subject to be terminated after 1 month. It's not a long-term deal by any means. So it's not the situation. That's what I got on Facebook all week. They're about to go to Europe and make millions and sell BBB shoes everywhere. What? They're not. They're not about to make anything.
Some discount if they are.
But and you said something else, which is my last note here, that most players who have played in this league, especially the American players that have commented on it, said it's absolutely horrible. They're going to regret it. There's absolutely nothing to do. It's a complete joke of a league. You're not going to make any money, and you're going to be home within a month if things even go well.
And that's how the corn crop. I mean. And another thing that just came to mind is I wonder if LeVar Ball, because I feel like LeVar Ball had a lot of voice in this decision of why he wouldn't send him to Spain or to France or to England with better basketball leagues, especially Spain.
Well, are they willing to take them? Because I was hearing that they weren't even really getting on the floor much in these Lithuania leagues, especially a 16-year-old.
They don't want to deal with LeVar Ball. If there's one thing LeVar Ball probably tried to do was get him into a Spanish league team, but you understand, Europeans, they're different. They're not like Americans. They don't care about basketball. They care about money and winning and soccer, football. Oh,
and I'm glad you brought up money because, okay, I'll admit, here is maybe the slight master plan of it all, although it still ultimately boils down to absolutely nothing. And I got one more number to prove my point here. So the Lithuania team was apparently using the balls just as well to sell out a jersey sponsor. So they're looking for money too. The appeal of the Crazy Ball family brothers coming to play basketball, the Americans, the young American stars, as they would see it over there, to come over there. So yeah, we're going to try to get a jersey sponsor and sell it by having these guys over there. What I'm starting to come around thinking is, though, that this is another huge publicity stunt by LeVar Ball for another reality show, which is very well possible. And so you go over there, play in Lithuania, and get some documentary footage and some reality show footage, which, yeah, I guess you're right. If they get on the floor, but it's not going to be good footage. I mean, you may have sparks, but this is not going to be entertaining stuff. And so my last point, DDT, and I'll let you finish this thing out, is that I don't remember if it's you. I think maybe Malachi David and Dan were talking about this. I know Dan watched the reality show on the Facebook series of the Ball family. I did not. I don't care. I would never watch that. I think Malachi David did. Did you watch it, DDT?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so I think Malachi did anyway. But they were saying, yes, it was actually pretty good. Okay. Well, here's what happened. I don't know if you read this, DDT. I read it and I was like, this is very telling to me. And it makes perfect sense. So from episode 1 to episode 2, you know how many viewers they retained? Only 10%, meaning only 1 out of every 10 people that watched episode 1 went as far as episode 2. That's very, very telling to me. So you're not making any money. You're not selling a reality show series. You would have already done that. You've seen a free one on Facebook flopped. If anything flopped on Facebook, that's got to be seen as a complete failure, because you can put anything on Facebook and it's going to get views. It's the most popular form of social media in the world. So I was astounded by that, DDT. I really thought it would have been higher than that, but I laughed. And you think that playing in Lithuania is going to get you better reality show footage to sell a bigger reality show when this one completely flopped?
Well, I will say this. That's a very surprising note. My live videos get more views than that show does, and I only do a few a year. So I guess, I don't know what's going on with this thing. I don't know what LeVar Ball's master plan is, and if it is what we're
he doesn't have one. That's what I was trying to say on Facebook. This is not a master plan. It's not a brilliant move. It's the only option to play basketball right now.
Yeah, chaos brings chaos. I mean, let's be real. I mean, chaos brings chaos, and more importantly, I love this. I love saying this. The definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think this is looking like a case of insanity.
Well said. We'll wrap it up right there. I'm glad we were on the same page there, although a debate may have been fun too, but I think we kind of see this as the same thing. And so I got a comment from Dan. Let me pull that up real quick because I wanted to we'll close it out with Dan's comment, because I was like, Dan, because Dan's been a BBB supporter this whole time. Okay. So, and I don't know if Dan didn't have time to get into it with me today, but okay. So this is what I asked Dan. Since you've been a BBB supporter and cheerleader, what is your take on the latest with the Lithuania situation and the criticism of Luke Walton by LeVar and the Lakers telling him to tone it down, all that? How is this thing headed? So Dan said, laugh out loud, I don't see him toning it down. You try to tell BBB what to do, and he'll do the opposite.
And Luke Walton's the coach. Let me throw that in there. Luke Walton's a good coach.
I'm not sure that he knows that. All right, LeVar Ball, that is, anyway. But anyway, and then Dan's. Let me wrap up. Dan also said that love the Lithuania signing BBB taking over globally. They'll become European superstars. Dan's just messing with us, right? Right.
The thing with sarcasm, I love sarcasm. I speak sarcasm. And the one thing about being sarcastic, it's very hard to sometimes read it for yourself when it's coming from someone else. So I'm going to hope that Dan is kidding. And if he's not, I want you to document that. I want you to write it down. I want you to have it saved, screenshot it, and use that against him every single time he tries to come down at you for being bad at fantasy football.
I'm not bad at fantasy football. I had a bad year. Get off my back. But no, I got you. And I really do think he was just messing with us, because I think he's even admitted when we talked about pulling LaMelo out of Chino Hills, Dan was not on board with that. And I remember that. So we'll get his take on that next week. But it's up for debate. Honestly, man, this thing is about 50-50 from the Facebook conversations and groups and message boards that I've done. And it's astonishing to me but I think you hit on a really good point is talking about the stigma of the black father not being involved in his kid's life. And this guy truly is to the detriment almost. And I think a lot of people want to hang on to that, like, man, he's doing what's best for the kids. Look what he's doing for his kids. He's putting them in place. He's making moves. Well, kind of, but is it the best thing? I mean, some of it just don't make no sense as a parent. I don't care, black, white, green, whatever. Some of these things you just don't do. It's very unconventional and not likely to succeed.
No, not how I would raise my kids. Not if my kid's going to UCLA.
Yeah, pulling a kid. How do you pull a grown man out of UCLA?
Go make it work. We couldn't make it work. That's UCLA. You'll quit basketball before you quit UCLA. I'm telling you.
And then someone tried to make a sly comment about the women in Europe, and man, them young guys are gonna have a ball with all the fine women in Europe. LiAngelo left UCLA. There's more fine women in Los Angeles than all of any country in Europe put together.
Preach.
So that I didn't understand. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash on European women. European women are beautiful, all sorts of every European nation. There's beauty in every continent. But I'm just saying, Los Angeles, are you freaking kidding me? That don't make no sense at all. But anyway.
Stone City, there's plenty of women on that campus for you. Smart, really smart women too.
Yeah, but not even think about that. Think about you're in Los Angeles. Not even, there's plenty of women that don't even go to college that are just around in Chili's, or whatever. Gorgeous women. It's Los Angeles. Don't be stupid. Okay, so that's enough of that. We talked long enough about that. But Carson Wentz, man. Carson Wentz is done. I projected a couple podcasts ago, a month or so ago, that I really thought we were heading towards a all Pennsylvania Super Bowl. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Philadelphia was riding high. Defense looked good. Carson Wentz looks like one of the best young quarterbacks. They got a dynamic, deep running game. They had weapons, man. They were just a complete all-around team. And Carson Wentz is one of the best up-and-coming signal callers. Now he's gone. What kind of chance do you give Philadelphia?
I'm going to actually say the opposite. I think Philadelphia can still win a Super Bowl. I think they can. I don't think Nick Foles is bad, because I was actually shocked when I saw him on the field. I'm like, wait a minute. Nick Foles is their backup quarterback? They're fine. Nick Foles is not as great as Carson Wentz, but he's probably the best backup quarterback the NFL has ever seen.
And I'm agreeing with you there. There could be a lot worse options. It could just completely have fell apart. But I think Nick Foles is going to be good enough to maintain that offense on an average enough to win games. But can he match up in the playoffs with the likes of say a Cam Newton or Matt Ryan, or in the Super Bowl possibly against a Big Ben or a Tom Brady? Is he going to be that clutch and make enough plays to win that type of game?
I'll tell you one thing. This is something that kind of fell into his lap. And if I were Nick Foles right now, I would be sitting in front of that playbook, looking it over, looking at game tape. Because Nick Foles has the opportunity to become a starting quarterback in the NFL again. If he takes the Eagles as deep as he can, because he's going to play in the division game. He's going to be in the divisional playoff game. That's automatic. So you're
definitely good enough to start for a team like, say, Cleveland.
Going to start with the Jets. I take Nick Foles.
Yeah, you said Jets?
The Browns would have taken him. The 49ers, they had Nick Foles. They wouldn't have traded for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, you said the Jets, right?
Yeah.
I thought you said the Jags for a minute, but the Jags too.
No, if the Jags had Nick Foles over Blake Bortles, they would have probably taken Nick Foles. If they would have started Blake Bortles, it would have been for very long. Even though they're doing great, they're 8-4. What are they? 9-4, 8-4.
Yeah, all for that defense, man. Their defense scores a touchdown every single week.
But my point is with the Eagles, they have a great running. I love Jay Ajayi. I mean, he is doing great in Philly. I don't think he can do no wrong.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people bashing the move. Like, well, no, he wasn't doing anything in Miami, but he's going to Philadelphia, a really, really good team. You think that's going to help a little bit?
LeGarrette Blount rest, and he needs it because he's exhausted at this point. He's getting rested up for the playoffs. That's when LeGarrette Blount turns off, is in the playoff games. You see him with New England, he is going for it. So Jay Ajayi is getting plenty of reps that he needs to stay consistent. Alshon Jeffrey is playing out of his mind. Look at Brent Selleck in the game against the Rams. Brent Selleck looked like the Brent Selleck of old, filling in for injured Zach Ertz. It's a shame what happened to Carson Wentz. It is, but Nick Foles has the pieces around him that he didn't have before in Philly to be a great quarterback with this team and go deep in this playoffs. And I'm not cutting the Eagles out of a Super Bowl run. I think they have it in him. We're going to see on a week-to-week basis how Nick Foles does, but that's his job to lose. And from this point forward, it's his choice if he wants to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. You play well for the Eagles, and he'll go anywhere. Teams are going to be chomping at the bit to get this guy if he turns out to be a good quarterback. That's all I got to say. I think the Eagles are going to be great. I think they're still going to be good, but definitely it'll be a tough road to get to the big dance.
It was going to be tough for Carson Wentz, too. Let's be honest. He's never been that far. I mean, this team has made great strides in just a year. We'll see. It still hurts me, though, just because I really think in 3 years, this kid really could be the best quarterback in the NFL when you get kind of on the backslide of some other guys like Aaron Rodgers. And we'll see. But it really sucks for him. And I hope he comes back healthy and 100% and it doesn't affect his long-term career. That's what I'm most worried about now, not even about the Eagles' success this year. Is I want to see this kid at full strength for the next 10, 12 years is what I would say. So, but anyway, I'll tell you what we're going to do next is let's talk a little bit more baseball. DDT's been waiting for this for however long we've been on. Big trade going down between his Yankees and the Marlins, and also a MVP candidate in the NBA made his return to the NBA last night. We'll talk about that next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. We appreciate it every single week. Brandon Reed and my co-host for the day, just the two of us. I was singing to DDT earlier. We can make it if we try. It's DDT, Dylan Davis Toronto.
Just the two of us, you and I. Okay, there you go. That's all I'm giving.
Ooh, yeah, you put a little bit more melodious.
I got
a little bit more melodious than me. I like it. Got the melodious skills. So your Yankees made a big trade, taking a lot of heat. Derek Jeter's taking even more heat. But what I don't understand here, in case you haven't been keeping up with baseball news, is Giancarlo Stanton, the hottest guy to be moved in this all season, clearly, and was projected to be, and he was. Hottest commodity out there, was traded to the New York Yankees. And Jeter, now being in his role as, what is he, CEO, president, whatever his role is with the Marlins.
Part owner. I'm getting to this later. I'm going to get to that later.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. He's taking a lot of heat because once a Yankee, always a Yankee. But what I'm saying is, have y'all not been keeping up? This is what the Marlins do every 3 to 4 years. They have a fire sale. Giancarlo Stanton was not going to stay there. It's a horrible baseball market, to be honest with you. Folks don't care about baseball there. It's in Miami. Give me a break. And not saying anything about Cuban players. Not saying that. I'm not saying about the players or the closeness to Cuba or something like that, or being a hotbed of Latin flavor, which is running rampant through the MLB. What I'm saying is, it's a retirement community. I mean, it's sunny Florida. No one gives a flip about baseball, and it's always been that way. It's just a bad market. So I give them credit for even bouncing back every time they do have one of these fire sales, but another fire sale went down. But anyway, Jeter's taking hit because he happened to trade his best player to the Yankees, which was his former team, where his jersey is retired or will be retired. Anyway, Hall of Fame player retiring from the Yankees, trades his best player, now in management, to the Yankees. But what I also say to that is that everyone's best talent goes to the Yankees eventually, right?
I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, this is what we used to always do with Mr. George Steinbrenner. He was notorious for this.
Well, that's what I even told Ryan Thomas, the big Red Sox fan, is, God, I wish he was on the show. Y'all two, I would just let y'all two go for 30 minutes because even Jacoby Ellsbury left in free agency the Red Sox to go to the Yankees. Everyone wants to be a Yankee. If you don't, you're lying to yourself, okay? Everyone wants to be a Yankee at some point in their baseball career.
Ryan Thomas just threw a temper tantrum over it because he's a Red Sox fan, and I understand he's upset. I'd be upset if Giancarlo Stanton went to the Red Sox. I'd be morbidly upset. But here's the thing. He's not going to the Red Sox. He's going to the Yankees. Storied franchise in the MLB. And at this point, the trade itself, it was a heist. It wasn't a trade. It was a heist. Giancarlo Stanton told Jeter and the Marlins management, I don't want to go to St. Louis. I don't want to go to these other teams. We'll send you to New York. Which one? The Yankees. I'll go. Because who wouldn't want to go play with the Yankees right now? They're the hottest team in Major League Baseball. They have the best home run hitting player in the American League, and they just grabbed the best one in the National League. This is a home run hitting team. Granted, it's going to be a lot of strikeouts on this team, but their home runs are going to be out of sight. Jeter pulled off a deal that, regardless if there was collusion or not, if he did, thank you. If he did, hey man, that's a little dirty. But you know what? At the end of the day, Giancarlo Stanton was never going to stay with the Marlins. He had to get moved. And if anything, the Yankees, remember this, people take this names thing and they forget. Look at the money. It's a business. Baseball is a business. The Yankees took $270 million of that $300 million contract. $270 million. They had to trade away Chase Headley and Brian Mitchell to clear cap space, just to make sure they could have enough money to sign pitchers and a third baseman. Which, by the way, Manny Machado and the Baltimore Orioles may be looking at departing because he is getting in talks. The Orioles are in talks with the Yankees to trade for Manny Machado.
I was just trying to look up that story and look up the details of that because I was going to throw that back at you. I'm like, they ain't done. They ain't even. How are they going to afford this, Manny Machado?
Like, listen, and I was talking about this with a coworker at my job today, and he was saying he broke the story to me. I didn't even know about it. He broke the story to me. At first, I was like, why do we need Manny? Wait a minute. Why don't we need Manny Machado? And my only reason is this. The reason why I would say we don't need Manny Machado is because he'll be a free agent next year. We could pick him up then. But the Yankees are in win-now mode. That's why they went for Stanton. And by the way, they traded Starlin Castro and two prospects we don't even know about for Stanton. They were practically giving him away. Starlin Castro was a hard loss because he's a second baseman we kind of needed, but it's a worthy loss. Because the problems the Yankees have now are who's going to play right field, Judge or Stanton. And the better right fielder in the outfield is Judge because he's got the better arm and the better skills. Stanton won't play left field. He can if he can probably try it, but he won't. That's a good problem to have. You know, the Yankees are in a situation where this team is a win-now team, and we'll trade as many prospects as we need to put this team together to win World Series 28, 29, and 30.
And you know what?
Because this is going to be
that's a nice feeling to have at least a franchise and an ownership and management that realizes that. Because some just sit on their hands and don't do anything and just try to let it play out. I love aggressive management like that. Play it year to year like that. You know, you got to take your chances. And you're right. I think the Yankees are in win now mode. I think the Astros are going to have something to say about. They're still going to be tough coming back. Some other teams, Dodgers, but the Yankees were that close, and they're making some moves. And I love aggressive team. It at least riles up the fan base and gives the fan base, optimistic hopes and excitement every single year.
Absolutely. And more importantly, it's a move that's just so reminiscent of George Steinbrenner. This is stuff he is notorious for. And his son Hal's picking up right where his father left off. Because we spent 10 years with Girardi spinning our wheels at the edge of that playoff race. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Girardi was the reason why we didn't go to the playoffs. He kept the Yankees in contention and made them always competitive, no matter what year. But Aaron Boone, the new manager of the Yankees, if there's one thing that Brian Cashman, the GM, does not want to see Aaron Boone do, it's fail in 1 year. He is making sure that Aaron Boone looks as good of a manager as possible. Because in the first year, there's going to be hiccups. Aaron Boone's going to make mistakes. I know he will. And that's okay. Like the Yankees did with Girardi, they stayed with him for 10 years. You got to do the same thing with Boone. You've got to work with this guy because if he becomes a great manager, you got to put good players around him. So let him have good players in his first year like they did Girardi. Because I'm telling you right now, the Yankees will win a World Series. I am putting that on wax. There is no way this team will not win a World Series. They will win one, either next year or the year after that, whatever. What I'm saying is...
You heard it there, Dan Schalk. I hope you're listening.
Winning. Astros are going to be good, and we'll see you in the ALCS. Absolutely. That's happening. Yankees and Astros ALCS, Game 7, that's happening. Let's just get this all out in the open.
Again?
It's going to be a great series, but the Yankees are the better team on paper and by statistics. That's over 100 home runs with two players. with just 2.
It's the whole home run derby. You're going to see the home run derby every damn night.
To the Yankees. That's what the home run derby is going to be. It's going to be the New York Yankees. Hey, come watch the New York Yankees in this town play the home run derby. I mean, you have Gary Sanchez. Didi Gregorius is hitting home runs.
So let me ask you one more thing though before we really wrap it up and just nail this point home for me. You don't honestly think there was collusion, do you? I mean, I don't see it as that. I see it, the Miami Marlins always do that, and everyone always wants to go or ends up talking to the Yankees for trade deals or free agency. So the two naturally meet. I don't care that Jeter was a former Yankee. There's no collusion there. It's just a natural fit.
I will say this. As a Yankee fan, I think there was a little bit of, hey, let me help you out. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Let's not forget here. The Yankees let Jeter play out his last year of his season in a rather not best year, but they let him have it. And if as a player who was treated so well by a franchise, let me throw you a bone. Since I couldn't throw you one at my later ages, let me throw you a bone. If there was collusion, Rob Manfred could have stopped it, but he didn't. Do you know why Rob Manfred didn't stop that trade? Because he could have. The commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. The reason why he didn't is because look what everybody's doing. They're talking about baseball. Baseball has been in the backtrack, in the back burner of sports in this country for the past 5 years. No one gives a darn about baseball in the country. Now they do. Why? Because the Yankees are in town. They got Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. And what are people going to do now? Watch baseball. Watch baseball. They're going to watch their team go up against other teams, especially the Yankees, because they're going to either hate or love this. It's all about money, publicity, and ratings. This is a huge deal. The Yankees are now once again the most hated team in Major League Baseball, as they should. And in those times, baseball was a dream. You loved watching baseball.
Definitely something to watch in 2018, because like you said, it's going to be like the home run derby every single night. So, but we'll talk more about that, and maybe we can get you and Ryan Thomas on and Dan Shaw, because y'all are all three right in the thick of this thing as being Astro supporters, Red Sox supporters, and yourself with the Yankees. So we'll talk more about that to come. It's big. I almost can't wait from that, just from an outsider's perspective, and I'll let you guys go. But last night we had a big return to the NBA. It was Kawhi Leonard missing you, Orlando. Thinking about you, hoping the family's okay, man. But your boy came back last night, Kawhi Leonard, even though you lost to the Mavericks. What? That didn't make no sense. But Kawhi did have a good game. So check this out. 13 points on 6 of 12 shooting. So he shot 50%, 1 for 4 from beyond the arc. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block in 16 minutes. He did all that in 16 minutes. Dude put up 12 shots in 16 minutes and then did all the other stuff, the 6 rebounds and 1 assist and a steal and a block in 16 minutes. Hey, the future's got to look good for San Antonio, holding down the 3 spot without him. Now that this dude's back and going to be doing this, look out, NBA.
I mean, Kawhi Leonard's back. I think Popovich is going to slowly work him back into the lineup. 16 will probably be the norm for a couple of weeks. Then he'll go to 20.
He had 28 fantasy points in 16 minutes, man. 28 fantasy points in 16 minutes.
He's one of the best players in the league, and eventually he's going to start playing 48 minutes. He's going to be back to 48 minutes. But they're going to work him in slowly, and they need to work him in slowly. You do not need to rush this. The Spurs are good with and without him.
You think he is MVP, even missing the time that he has? Can he be in the MVP conversation at this point? If he does come back strong and plays the rest of the season strong.
I mean, I don't mean to speak blasphemy, as Stephen A. Smith would call it. I think MVP is a bit of a far stretch, because I think there's even players like Kristaps Porzingis, not to sound favorable, who are playing better this year and are putting up MVP numbers.
Ben Simmons.
James Harden's having an amazing.
Well, you know my boy is Giannis Antetokounmpo, so let's start right there. But LeBron's always in that conversation.
He's in it, and and don't get me wrong. I think Kawhi Leonard's going to pick up in a big way, and he's going to take over that Spurs team and put up a lot of great numbers. But I just think right now you're 20-plus games too late to jump into this. Unless you start putting up crazy numbers, and I mean crazy, then I don't think he's gonna get the nod. He'll be in the running, but I don't think he's got the push to get MVP.
Well, he started out really hot, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll talk to Orlando about that next week and have maybe a couple more Kawhi Leonard games under our belt and see how it's looking. But he did return last night, so looking up for the San Antonio Spurs. So I'll tell you what we're going to do next. You guys have waited long enough. We talked about everything in the world of sports long enough. We're going to get to your mailbag questions and answer them all next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Brandon Reed and my co-host for the week, the soccer superstar, DDT Dylan Davis Tirado. Thanks for being here and helping me fill some time, man. You're the only one left. It's CMB. We all we got.
Hey, listen, I'm all good with being here. Obviously, you mentioned soccer superstar because my fantasy run was ended by Malachi David, who just barely beat me, and I'm so mad because
2.5 points. What was it? Very slim margin. Very heartbreaking.
2 points. I think it was 2 solid points because the Steelers' defense was crumbling in that game. I was like, "Come on, Ravens! 1 field goal and it's all over. I win. I move on." And you're right, Robbie Anderson let me down. It was in Matt Forte let me down. And the Jets let me down, and that was the reason. I should have played someone else, and I didn't. I stuck with what was the hot streak.
I told you it had to come to an end eventually. Had to.
It came to an end at the absolutely worst time possible.
But barely. And I'm sorry for disrespecting Malachi this whole time because he was right there too. He's in the same situation as you. I think you guys had the same record. Maybe he's the hot team. I mean, you were too. Heartbreaking loss with both you guys. But I mentioned Dennis Durso, and he won and beat on Thomas State. So the trade between us two was all really much due about nothing. It didn't really work out great for either one of us as Dennis Durso beat Thomas Take. And so I didn't look at the bracket going forward. I don't know who plays who. I just know now it's Malachi David and Dennis Durso, a fan of the site, playing Dan Schalk and Prestige Worldwide Dakota Day, another fan of the site. So we get 2 MFST writers and 2 fans of the site in the Final Four of the MFST Fantasy Football League.
Great publicity, man. If you want to be a fantasy football champion, come play with us. We'll teach you how to change it up. I'll tell you one thing, man. If there's one thing, and we'll get to this later because our own editor-in-chief, Dan Schalk, put in a mailbag question. Calling out one of our fellow writers.
But isn't he kind of calling out himself? He's the commissioner. He allowed all of that. You know,
it's important. Reflection is important because I also have some rule changes I want put into this.
Oh, we're going to have a committee meeting. It's going to be a special My Fantasy podcast over the summer, and we're going to sit down and we're going to do a committee meeting of rule changes for the league. I ain't playing. That's going to happen. That is going to happen because I got several things on my list.
Increase that waiver wire to 25, please.
The acquisitions limit?
Yeah.
I've never played in a league with any acquisition limit until ours last year. I just never played like that. If you want to make 47 moves, you make 47 moves.
Exactly. You know. 25, please. That's
first come, first served. I do kind of like it because the teams that are sucking in the very beginning, you know, if you start out 1-5, 1-6, 2-7, then you're constantly picking up the best and hottest free agents. So you got to, you know, if at that point you don't care about your acquisition limit, you need to get good in a hurry. But there is something to that. But there's just some things that need tweaking. But I don't know, Dan Schalk. I don't know, man. I don't think you're the hot team. I don't think you're riding the hot streak. Your quarterback is Marcus Mariota, which is what we're going to get to. Kareem Hunt finally scored a touchdown again after absence of a touchdown since week 3. So I don't think he's the man. I'm calling right now. No disrespect to Dakota Day, the other number 1 seed, or the number 1 seed. I don't remember who got number 1 seed, but I'm calling Malachi David or Dennis Durso. Show me your TDs as this year's MFST champion.
Now, Dan said you jinxed me. So, I mean, do you believe in that? Because listen.
How did I jinx you?
I was the hottest team going into the playoffs.
You still only lost by 2 points. I mean,
I know, and it's just because I relied on consistency. I mean, for the past 3 weeks, I was putting up over 100 points like it was not even a problem.
And that was so. Let me ask you this: did you have a move? How many points did Robbie Anderson get last week?
I think only maybe 3 or 4.
Who was on your? Did you have a move on your bench that would have won you the game over Robbie Anderson?
Tyler Lockett. 2 players. Tyler Lockett had 18 points. He's been horrible for the second half stretch of the season. I just kept him on there as an insurance, and he got 18 points. Who else was really good? Duke Johnson had 12 points. I stopped playing him for Matt Forte. Big mistake. And I think that's it. I did great with the Eric Ebron tight end pick. I did great there. I thought I made a bad pick. Ended up getting 12 points out of him. I was very happy with him. I was happy with my starting lineup because normally you can get a win off a points total like that, And Phillip Rivers played great. Melvin Gordon played all right, I guess. But I definitely lost in Tyreek Hill not getting a touchdown, Larry Fitzgerald not catching a touchdown. I just needed touchdowns, and I didn't get them. I got yardage, and that doesn't help me. So it was a good year. I was probably the loudest guy from the sideline, from the bottoms of the outside the playoffs, and playing my way in like a beast. But I definitely tell you one thing: I learned a lot from this league this year. I took a lot of notes, and I tell you one thing: I already got my strategy ready for next year of who my top 4 players I'm going to draft are. I already know what it's going to be.
I've learned things too. I really have, and this was just one of the years where my particular strategy didn't work out for me. But so how about this, DDT? Let's help other folks, okay? And this may even help Dan Shaw. Let's get into our mailbag questions and try to help some other folks. And the first person we're going to try to help this week is Gary Bowden. So Gary says, can I trust Marcus Mariota in the fantasy playoffs matchups next week against San Francisco? Looks promising. And if I advance against the Rams, I don't have a backup. And the best QB on the waiver wire is Jimmy G or Blaine Gabbert. Seriously, that's all. That's all I got. It's a 16-man league. Mariota are those 2 guys, which is, like I said, Jimmy G, or you can pick up Blaine Gabbert on the waiver wire. So, I don't know, man. So my response was, in a 16-team league, Jimmy G, maybe, but I don't think Marcus Mariota is trustworthy either, and that's what I was going to tell Dan Shaw. Marcus Mariota got Dan 3 points. Well, he didn't get Dan because Dan had a bye. Congrats, Dan, you had a bye. But if Marcus Mariota was your starting quarterback last week, he got you 3 points, which can't make you feel very good going into this week. And they do play San Francisco. So you're talking about the same matchup. I don't really like Jimmy G against the Titans defense. I think the Titans defense has turned it around. That's the reason they are winning games, because the offense is not good at all. The offense has no consistency, no glue to it at all. They're not scoring points, but the defense has been tough and gritty. So I don't really like Jimmy G, and not playing Blaine Gabbert. So what do you think? Help Gary Bowden. I said Terry Bowden. Help Gary Bowden out here, DDT. What's the best option?
It was a head scratcher for a few minutes until I realized I kind of thought back to a game I had watched. I watched the Steelers-Titans Thursday night football game a few weeks ago, and I just remember both sides of the ball, Titans were just god-awful. Offensively, they couldn't put up many points. Defensively, the Steelers were walking all over them. Antonio Brown had a field day.
God, did he?
He had a field day on him. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the better pick here because of his ability to exploit the fact that the Titans secondary cannot defend receivers. They're going to get their yards. I think Carlos Hyde is still actively playing with them, so I think he'll have good rushing yards because Le'Veon Bell also had a great game against the Titans. I got to go Jimmy Garoppolo because Marcus Mariota is prone to injury, and he's not getting it done. 3 points is not a solid day. Honestly, I would have cut him at this point.
Cut him. You've cut him from your fantasy. You're talking not if you're the Titans, right?
You're not. If you're the Titans, that's all you got. You got nothing else. If you're in a fantasy football league, cut Marcus Mariota. He's not good for you right now. And in a playoff situation, trust me, you need good quarterback play. I got great quarterback play, and it still wasn't enough. And if you want to have a shot in moving forward, you better pick the guy who puts up 12 points rather than 3.
But you've seen the record with Tennessee. Tennessee is doing good, and like I said, it's because of their gritty defense. Do you trust Jimmy G against that defense more than you trust Marcus Mariota?
I do trust Jimmy G a lot more. I just trust the hotter hand.
And nothing to lose, no pressure, nothing.
Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starting quarterback next year, so he's going to ball out or he's going to ball in. He's going to do whatever he's going to do. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to put up more points. If you're talking about it from a fantasy perspective, he will put up more points than Marcus Mariota. And if I'm wrong, then I apologize. But I'm just saying
the guy we're forgetting about then is Blaine Gabbert. He's playing Washington, and they give up points in bunches a lot of times. So Blaine Gabbert for Arizona is going to they're playing at Washington. So are we forgetting about him? Is he the better option?
No, absolutely not. Blaine Gabbert is garbage. Next question.
Since he came in, 2 consecutive, and this is in our league, folks, but 19 points in his first 2 starts this year, and then consecutively against the Rams, keep in mind, 9, and then against the Titans, keep in mind, another, like I said, that defense is underrated, 8. So I don't know, man. No. Those 2 poor scores were against really good defenses. Washington's is not.
And again, I understand, but this is Blaine Gabbert. And this is
okay.
This is the super quarterback in the NFL. He is not good. He is not good. He's just and fantasy wise, you need a quarterback to give you 25 plus. That's why I made the trade for Phillip Rivers. 25 plus points. Blaine Gabbert ain't even making 20.
He's had so his first game is he really went off against Houston, had 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. His next game against Jacksonville, he had 2 touchdowns and 1 pick and 1 fumble. The next game against the Rams, he had 1 touchdown and 2 picks. And then last week against Tennessee, he just didn't do anything. He just threw for 178 yards, didn't have any numbers except for 178 yards. That was it. So we see a decline. But again, man, that's some tough defenses, man. Think about that. He has played at Houston, Jacksonville, Los Angeles Rams, and the Tennessee Titans consecutively. This is by far going to be the worst defense he has played in his 2017 campaign.
I just can't go with Blaine Gabbert. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a field day.
So you're saying, well, that's true. So which is good for Blaine Gabbert, right? A lot of throws. But you're saying Jimmy G is how you're answering this question, right?
Jimmy G all the way. I just go with the better hand.
Here's what I'm telling Dan Shaw, because Dan is very heavily invested in this question as well, which he thought he had a chance of being on the podcast this week. So I think he hand-selected this question and forwarded it to me. So I think he has a vested interest in this question as well. And after researching it and looking at it and thinking about it, I'm telling Dan, if Blaine Gabbert is available in our league, and I'll tell you right now, yes, he is right now. Blaine Gabbert is available in our league, then I'm going Blaine Gabbert against Washington. I don't care who it is.
I go Nick Foles.
But he's not available. Is he? Okay, there you go. There you go. So Gary Bowden, you may want to check that. Is Nick Foles available in your league? Shh. I hope you run and go get that real quick. There you go. Because they do have weapons. I trust that. You're completely right. Any idea who they play this week, DDC?
Nick.
I hadn't looked at the schedule. I can tell you though in just one quick second. But great point. So that's what Dan needs to do. He says he's got all these acquisitions left. That's who Dan needs to jump on right quick. They play at the Giants.
Giants. I guessed it. Got it. Giants. I knew it. I was like, wait, it's an NFC rivalry game. Yep, Giants. They're going to kill him.
Great point. And he is available in our league. So I hope that helps, Gary Bowden. That we're giving you extra options. You told me that you're only 2, but maybe this question was submitted or you wasn't thinking about Carson Wentz. I mean, I don't know, but or maybe someone jumped on it. Maybe you're playing in a pretty astute league there. It is 16 teams, so I'm guessing he's probably not available in your league, Gary Bowden. But
not by this point, not with the way waivers are going, especially in our league, man. I lose players all the time.
Well, Gary probably didn't have an acquisition limit in his league. Like I said, it's rare. I've never played in it until last. I've never had an acquisition limit in any league I played in until last season.
I like it though because it really makes you play with your cards closer to your chest. You really don't.
I like it. I just wish it was increased a little bit. And like Dan said, that's over a move a week. And I understand that. But here's the other thing about our league, DDT. We didn't have an IR spot. So when Greg Olsen went down and Deshaun Watson went down, I couldn't move them anywhere. And of course, Deshaun Watson was done, but Greg Olsen was not. But I had to keep him on my bench and waste a spot all year long because we didn't have an IR slot. I've never been in a league like that either.
I mean, the IR spot is very helpful. I mean, at this point, I drafted Jordan Reed way too early. I made a huge mistake drafting him. I will never touch him ever again. Whoever gets him next year, have fun. It was an absolute nightmare to play him. The IR spot helps you, but it does change how you draft because you can actually think a spot ahead. Think about an extra player you could have that's just going to kind of sit in that idle there, and you know is injury prone, but it allows you to get a good.
But honestly, I didn't check that before we drafted. I had no idea. I had no clue because we did have an IR slot last year. I don't know what changed. See, I think Dan Chalk manipulated these rules to benefit him where only he knew some of these rules, and the rest of us were dumb to it, and we were at a disadvantage.
Maybe got some pointers from Derek Jeter and George Steinbrenner's ghost.
there you go. So we're having a committee meeting this summer on My Fantasy Podcast. I promise you. So, but anyway, so I guess I'm telling Gary Bowden and I'm telling Dan Chalk. Dan Chalk, you need to pick up Nick Foles real quick. We'll get more. We'll get more on and talk more about Dan's quarterback situation at the end of the podcast, though, because he himself submitted a question that we can't wait for. But it's gonna be fun. So Gary, DDT says Jimmy G, and I say I'm saying Blaine Gabbert right now, man, against Washington. It's gonna be the weakest defense he's played all year, and I don't trust Mariota. It's between Mariota and I'm not with DDT here. Jimmy G against the Titans defense is gonna be tough, especially when the Titans are fighting for playoff positioning and to win that division. Try to win that division and make the playoffs. It's going to be tough on Jimmy G this week. So good luck, though, man. You're in the fantasy playoffs of a 16-team league. That's got to be tough. Good luck to you. Appreciate the question. Next one comes from Pete Montoya. Chiefs versus Chargers on Saturday. I say winner takes a division. Who do you have winning? First of all, I just got to say, yeah, it's got to be between these two. No one else really has a chance here. Oakland has been my biggest disappointment in the whole probably NFL this year, other than Atlanta not being as good as I thought they were going to be. I thought they were destined to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl.
Wait, you mean the Raiders? What about the Giants? The Giants are absolutely the worst.
They're bad, but I didn't have them really going that far. I didn't even have them winning that division.
I did.
I think Dan Chalk did too. Yeah. Okay. But did you really see them as a quarterback? I mean, quarterback Super Bowl contender. Did you think they had any chances against the big dogs, such as like the Packers and the Falcons, Seattle?
No, I thought the Falcons and the Patriots are going for a rematch. That's what I thought.
Well, they still might be. We'll talk about that too.
To get back to the point, though, because we are talking Raiders and the AFC West division to get back on top.
Chiefs, Chargers, really.
Real quick, I'll just throw in. Yeah, they are a huge disappointment. I actually think I had the Raiders winning the division.
I had them going to the Super Bowl. I had the Raiders and the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Oh my! Well, I will say this to get back on the topic of who's going to win that game. I do think the Chargers are going to get him. I think Philip Rivers is playing out of his mind, and Los Angeles does not deserve him. And the fact that he has soldiered with that really bad fan base who never shows up to games, but now they're showing up because the Chargers are winning. I don't think the Chiefs have a shot to get this division. I think the Chargers have their number, and it's just a matter of time. But it's going to be a great game. I'm going to tune into it. I want to see what happens. Certainly, we could see a resurgence in Kareem Hunt could see Alex Smith stop throwing interceptions, and we could see Tyreek Hill catching touchdowns. We could see Travis Kelce become the tight end he's supposed to be.
Well, as far as winning the division, I'm going to say the Chiefs on this particular game is that, I really have no idea. So it's hard to say because both the teams have been kind of up and down. But I'm going to say as far as this game, the Chiefs, because they're hosting the game, but the schedule going ahead is a little bit more favorable for the Chiefs and the Chargers, I believe. The Chiefs have games against the Dolphins and the Broncos left, whereas the Chargers have games against your Jets and the Raiders left. So I think the schedule favors the Chiefs just a little bit more going down the stretch. Plus, they host this last game with the Chargers.
Well, I will say, in terms of scheduling, it does favor the Chiefs. But if you're losing to teams like the Jets, and I'm not trying to come down on my Jets, but we're not a great football team. We're a pretty middle of the run football team.
Got shut out by them Broncos last week. Shut out. Zip. Zero. Zilch.
That was embarrassing. That is so – I don't even want to talk about that. I don't know. And Josh McCown breaks his hand, which is heartbreaking because he has been – he came out of his shell and just tried so hard. So I feel so bad for him. I think he's going to retire, and I salute to him. He was excellent. He soldiered on through a very the Chiefs have a shot, but it will matter on this game. Who wins this game really can't win the division because the Raiders – are not going to put up much of a fight. If they do, it's going to be worth nothing. So I'm going to say Chargers still because I think they're just a hotter team. I think after that Cowboys game, I was convinced that they're the real deal, despite the record. I think they're just going to be that one team in the AFC who just kind of sneaks in with that bad record.
Well, and, I would rather – honestly, I'd rather see the Chargers in the playoffs just because I've seen the story from the Chiefs before, and their collapse is real. And I called it a couple of months ago. The collapse is real. So there you go. We're going to move on, running short of time to get through a lot of mailbag questions that I want to get through. So appreciate it, Pete Montoya. Very interesting, man. It's going to be a hell of a game. We're coming down to it. Next one comes from Joy Spirit. This is of the NBA variety. You want to bounce back to the NBA. Joy Spirit says the Rockets are the best team in the NBA, and it isn't even close. Agree? P.S. They're undefeated when Chris Paul plays.
This question.
Undefeated. Go ahead, DDT. Houston Rockets best team in the NBA, not even close.
This is what I'm gonna say because I know we gotta make a frenzy here. So, Chris Paul, when he plays for them, is undefeated. If you're going to rely on Chris Paul to keep you in that kind of a realm of game, you are deluded. Chris Paul cannot keep up with an NBA season. He's an injury-prone point guard.
Well, it's only been 11 games. He's only played 11 games.
Exactly. He will only probably play another good 20, and then he's going to leave with another injury again. You cannot rely on Chris Paul to help you in a league like that. You can't rely on someone like that. The Rockets are great. They are one of the
but they kept it going without him. So talk about that, the legitimacy of the Rockets, do you think? Now that Kawhi is going to be back for San Antonio, and then Golden State. Here's my point now. If KD and Steph Curry are healthy, which Steph is not right now, but no one is beating the Warriors, guys. No one is beating them.
Yeah, the Warriors are legit, man. They don't sit down. They don't take a break. The Rockets don't either. And this is what I was going to say. Wait till you get to the playoffs. That's a whole new season.
Which Chris Paul does not fare well in.
In the playoffs. He does not fare well in the playoffs. I want to see it. I want to say the Rockets are legit. I want to say they can win an NBA title. But they're just not going to do it. If the Golden State Warriors, without Steph Curry, can still be a legitimate championship contender, sit down, drink your Gatorade, and just watch the madness. Because everybody knows what's going to happen this year. Cleveland's got their one-way shot right to the NBA Finals. Boston's out of the way, as far as we know. We don't know. I mean, maybe Kyrie Irving turns it up and they can do it.
They're doing good, but I think when you come down to the 7-game series and the grinded-out style of each and every game of the playoffs.
In an Eastern Conference final, I mean, and they're going to have Isaiah Thomas back by that point. And I know for a fact he's going to be balling against his whole team hard.
Well, I think it's still way early to talk about this because Memphis was the best team in the NBA and number one in the power rankings for the first 3 weeks of the season, and now look where we are. It's way too early to talk about this. Plus, the Warriors are still up, right? I mean, they're still the 1 seed by like half a game, right?
Well, listen, like I said, when we get to the playoffs, it's a whole new ball game. The playoffs are not like the regular season. It's not. It's a 6-man, 7-man rotation playoff battle. It's not 15 guys on a team all get playing time when it's crunch time. It's just the Rockets are not equipped with the roster they have and the point guard and Chris Paul to win an NBA championship. They will have a.
Well, and I'm not trying to hate on the Rockets. If the Rockets do make the NBA finals, and I'm not too upset because that's going to be damn, that's pretty damn entertaining, and I just don't care anymore. Sure, my prediction is the Warriors are the best team, and they're probably going to win several titles in a row. You're not beating that duo if healthy, but let me also tell you this: that you need to look at that schedule. The Rockets do not have many quality wins, maybe 3 at the most, in my opinion. Right now, they have had a very weak schedule to start this season, which is why they were able to survive without Chris Paul. That schedule is about to get really, really harder on them in the back half of the season. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I know they're doing good. Enjoy it while it lasts. That's all I gotta say.
I won't be upset. I won't be upset if they do make the finals because that means, damn, something crazy happened. And they are an entertaining enough team. With James Harden, it's always going to be entertaining.
Yeah, win chip.
The next one, we're going to move on and talk about baseball real quick because this is, I know little about this, but I got a comment from Dan. And again, Dan submitted these questions. We kind of put the rundown a little bit before Dan knew he knew he was not going to be on the podcast. So, but this one is basically for Dan in the baseball ilk, but maybe DDT can add something too. But does Shohei Ohtani, Shohei, do you know how to pronounce that? Shohei Ohtani. Does he make that much of a difference and impact signing with the Angels? This one comes from Randy McLeod. So here's Dan's words. Here's Dan's answer. Yeah, he is supposed to be the next phenom that can pitch and hit. And Dan talked about this guy, to his credit, a month or so ago on the podcast, saying, watch out for this guy. He finally signs with the Angels, but he's definitely going to be a phenom, can pitch and hit. I think he's going to be unbelievable. However, he just failed a physical, and when it came back with a sprained UCL, which could actually lead to Tommy John. That's what Dan said. And also, I read today that he's having like platelet plasma injections in his elbow. So none of this really sounds good. Still a young guy, still really good. So in 2016, Ohtani hit for 322 with 22 home runs and 67 RBIs in 104 games. Keep in mind, he's a pitcher and went 10-4 with an ERA of 1.86 in his league. So damn good player. And I read the Angels plan on using him as a starting pitcher and DH. So someone that they could see playing, at least getting in the game or getting an at-bat every single game, not just a pitcher.
Well, here's the thing with me. With Ohtani, I feel like he picked the wrong team. His skills are better suited in the National League because pitchers hit. Imagine a situation where you're a pitcher knowing that Ohtani is facing you and he could go for yard. Like Madison Bumgarner could go for yard. But again, this guy is a great player. But this is my thing with Japanese pitchers. They are good 1 year, and then the rest of their time, they're garbage. Yu Darvish has not been good since his first year. He just hasn't. He helped the Dodgers greatly this year, but that's kind of a fluke to me. I'm kind of the same thing with Masahiro Tanaka with the Yankees. Not as good the next year. And again, elbow injuries, shoulder injuries, they're a common theme with these pitchers, man. I just don't know how long Ohtani will keep it up. Because I just feel like he's going to be another player that's just going to be good for 1 year and then just be average to below average the rest.
I think that's where we are. It's more about health status, Randy. And that's what Dan expressed too, because Dan claimed he was a phenom, but now it's looking like physical limitations may prevent that.
Yeah, but when he's healthy, I'm sure he's a freak of nature. When he's not healthy,
any chance he gives up pitching and it just becomes an everyday hitter, what position would he play? Would you stick him in the outfield?
I mean, if he's got a good arm, I'm sure he'd be a great in the center field, left field, right field. He could be an all-round outfielder.
There you go.
Good journeyman player.
Decent bat, good arm. Yeah.
Utilizing player, or he could be a really awesome DH.
Yep. And that's how the Angels plan on using him as well. So, but we'll see. Little winter baseball talk for you there. Dan will fill us more about that, and we'll get back to that next time Dan is on the podcast next week, Randy. But appreciate the question. Next one I want to touch on comes from Kevin Williamson. Alvin Kamara, first-round pick next year in fantasy. Are you willing to go that far right now, DDT? With Alvin Kamara, who is technically a backup running back?
You have revealed my secret plan for next year. He is one of the running backs I am targeting in fantasy next year. The other one is Todd Gurley. I really
good luck with Gurley.
Guy,
if you ain't got a top 3 pick, you ain't getting Gurley.
Oh, and that's just the hard thing. If you don't get top 3, you're going to get Gurley, but you're not going to get Kamara. And I really think Kamara is up there, and depending on how he's ranked next year, we'll see.
Well, depending on the league size too, because I think he's borderline, and I also believe I think it depends on what happens with Mark Ingram. Are they both going to be on the Saints next year, or is one of them going to get moved? Because they're a two-headed monster right now. They're both blasting, and then you got Drew Brees. So if one of them happens to leave, that really significantly affects the other one as well.
Well, also remember, Drew Brees is also a free agent at the end of the year. He could leave New Orleans and go to another team.
I don't see it happening. I don't see that happening, though. I think he's almost done. He's ready to. As long as Sean Payton is there, then I don't think Drew Brees is going anywhere.
Listen, never say never. You never know what's going to happen. There could be a lot of quarterback changes in the NFL next year. And it could be a lot of running back changes. Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are starting caliber running backs.
So let's stick to what we think is going to happen. Let's just say the whole damn team is back. You got Drew Brees, you got Mark Ingram, and you got Alvin Kamara on the same damn thing going on next year. Is he a first-round pick, knowing that he's probably not even – he's going to split time at the very best with Ingram?
Well, if he's
first round?
He's going to split time, but I think he's the red zone guy, and so is Mark Ingram. I mean, they can play at the same time. I think he's a solid running back 2. Great running back 2. I think he's a great running back 3. He is definitely a guy you can draft early if you want to take a chance on him. But it certainly all depends on how they're going to rank him. He is definitely a running back I'm targeting to pick up no matter where I pick. I want to get him, and I definitely want to go for another solid, good.
Our league is a 14-team league. You have the 14th pick in the 2018 MFST NFL Fantasy Draft. Dylan Davis-Tirado and Alvin Kamara is available with the 14th pick. Are you going for it?
Not if Melvin Gordon's still on that board, because that's who I took with my pick.
Yeah, there's so much we don't know. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I got the last pick I got the last pick in the first pick in the when the draft started, and I went for Melvin Gordon, and I don't remember who my second pick was. I think it was Des Bryant or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I do know this year I definitely want to go Alvin Kamara. I think he's a good, solid running back to have, but it's going to depend on how everyone else drafts.
Yep, and how big your league is, and what may happen with the Saints. That's what my biggest thing is. Man, it's hard for me to take a guy in the first round who I knew was going to be split in time. And plus, here's the other thing: sophomore slump. Folks are going to have tape on him, and that surprise and shock factor is no longer going to be there. Especially if Mark Ingram leaves, or vice versa, or whatever may happen. So you got that to look out for too. But very interesting questions, man. I think borderline right now. I'll say watch out. I definitely think he's a future stud. I just think the situation may be a little hard right now. If you're talking about drafting in the first round, Alvin Kamara, if in any league at least 12 or below, I would say, then that's a bit of a stretch. But appreciate the question, Kevin. Let's talk about the next one. This is big. Hit on it a little bit. This one comes from Who Dat Whataburger. Great name. Super Bowl matchup right now. Remember, Carson Wentz is done. He's gone. DDT, what do you say?
Like I said earlier, I think Nick Foles is the man. I think he can lead this team forward. Carson Wentz is out. Nick Foles is in. Eagles still have a shot at that Super Bowl.
So you think, but what's the matchup? Is that who you're predicting right now, though?
No, that's not who I'm predicting. I'm going again with my original pick. I say the Patriots and the Falcons are destined for a rematch. Don't know how that's going to happen, but it's going. I don't know. But
I think Atlanta's still in there. Honestly, I think Atlanta could be that team. They just need to get it clicking just a little bit, and it's the same damn team. It's the same team.
I mean, same team that pulled it off. So, but you never know. This is a very vulnerable Eagles team right now. You don't know what they're going to be, but I do believe they're going to be good.
So here's my Super Bowl matchup then for Whataburger. Pittsburgh, and I just think this guy's going to like this. I don't know. But Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Carolina. It's going to be one of those matchups. Do you see my pattern here? My pattern is Pittsburgh. I guess I'm just a New England hater. But winning back-to-back Super Bowls or even going to back-to-back Super Bowls is not what they do. But there's only two teams that have a chance in the AFC, and that's New England and Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, don't forget about the Rams. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. Don't sleep on them. They could.
That's true.
But Pittsburgh definitely is the team to beat in the AFC next to the Patriots. Dynamite.
Appreciate it, Who Dat Whataburger. It's hard, man. That Philadelphia, that Carson Wentz, that does. I understand what DDT is saying, but man, the Carson Wentz thing going down because he's an elite level type quarterback that I had no hesitation about saying they could go to the Super Bowl. Now I have a slight hesitation. Can Nick Foles do everything that Carson Wentz did? We'll see. Another football question here. This one comes from Jim Frank. Y'all see that snowstorm in Buffalo? Did you enjoy watching those games? Personally, I freaking loved every minute of it, even with no offense. I agree, dude. Unfortunately, I had some other commitments. I was away from the TV on Sunday, did not get to watch this game, and forgot to set my red zone DVR to record. So I missed it all, just saw highlights, but I was amazed at the highlights. And DDT is right there in the thick of it in New York, but I haven't seen snow like that in a long time, man. It's talking about accumulation on a football field when they're trying to proactively shovel that stuff out of there all week long or days leading up to the game and just can't get it done. So much snowfall that I loved it, man. It was crazy. I hadn't seen snow like that. Maybe Philadelphia had a game similar to that a couple years ago or somewhat recently. I can't remember, but that was like damn near like a foot of snow accumulation on the field those guys were running through.
I mean, I watched the game for a lot of that. I picked it up in the second quarter and watched it all the way to the end. I was bounced between that and the Giants and the Cowboys game. And the snow was profound in that if you watch the last play of the game with LaShawn McCoy running into touchdown to win in overtime, he was picking up his knees to his chest to try and get to the end zone. It's very tough to play in environments like that, but man, I love games like that. It's just the weather that attracted me to the game because otherwise, if it was just a regular grass on the field, it's just cold, I would not have watched that game. And the fact that weather can draw you in, it's what the NFL is all about. It's about that outside experience, and it's one of the best games I've watched all year. And that's surprising, but I really enjoyed watching them trying to clear for Adam Vinatieri's amazing field goal kick. That was so awesome to see him kick that field goal so wide right and still just barely make that post. That was awesome. So great game. Winter is always a great time in the NFL. Snow is a factor in how teams prepare.
And you're still getting it right now in New York, correct?
Yep. Oh my. Okay. Yeah. It's coming out. I can feel the cold. That's just what shocked me more, was the cold. But yeah, snow's coming, and yeah.
It's a pretty game, just a pretty game, Jim Frank. But yeah, we definitely agree with that. So well, let's get into Dan's question real quick, because this one comes from the Dan Shalk. We've hit on it a lot, but here's the thing, folks. Dan got hosed. Dan says, I got hosed. Aaron Rodgers was on the waiver wire in our league, and one of the only teams in the playoffs with acquisitions left. I thought he was mine, but no. Stupid non-playoff team Casey Birch stole him from me. Why are teams not in the playoffs making moves? You want to win the loser bracket? Dumb. Hashtag rule change next year. We'll get to that. Yeah, we should. Committee meeting. Hashtag committee meeting. So Dan has Marcus Mariota or Jacoby Brissett, neither of which he likes. Would you pick up anyone in the waiver wire and start at QB? We just talked about that, Dan. Nick Foles might want to look at that real quick. Best option is Joe Flacco against Cleveland. So I think Dan was overlooking Nick Foles, DDT. Have a good show. Appreciate it, from Dan Shaw. So I think Dan overlooked Nick Foles. You were completely right.
Yeah, I really think he did. I mean, I was noticing that all day today. Nick Foles sitting up there as the top quarterback to take. I'm like, that is a starting quarterback with the Eagles.
Playing the Giants. Playing the Giants.
Playing the Giants. Why are you not jumping at this guy? I mean, if I didn't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? Acquisitions to acquire said player, I would drop Kirk Cousins or Jordan Reed or any player in a minute to pick up Nick Foles, just to not have him be on anyone else's team, because I just want him. I'm still competitive, even if I'm out of the running. I'm still competitive.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree. No, I'm sorry. I'll finish up with this quick point. Yeah, Dan, if teams are in the playoffs, they should be able to make more acquisitions. And the teams out of the playoffs, no, they shouldn't be making acquisitions. They should just I mean, it's not fun to just sit there and watch, but, you know, it does kind of hurt the competition at the top levels. But, you know, again, we'll discuss this over the summer. This will be a big.
That's the point. That is the point. It's so funny. And Dan told me a couple of weeks ago in basketball how I was already making excuses midweek for a potential loss in a game. Is that what we're seeing here? But the thing is, it's so ironic and funny because it's coming back to bite Dan Schalk of rules that he made when he is the commissioner and things not going quite his way and coming back to bite him now, which is all I've been saying for the last few weeks. Several things that's happened and other people have complained about. You can't please everybody, but there's just certain things that I think we need to address, and we'll do that in the off season. And I think Dan's ready to give up the commissionership, but it's so funny that it's coming back to bite him now as Casey Birch picks up Aaron Rodgers, and Casey Birch is like the 9th seed. He's playing in the consolation ladder.
Casey and I go so, and shout out to Casey, man. Thanks for making my boss so angry. It's a joy for Brandon and I to sit here. Well, Casey
finally,
and I went to college together. We went to Roberts Wesleyan College in Rochester, man. That's where we first met, and he's been a pain in my butt this year too. With all the trade drama we have between each other this year, but Dan makes a great point. Biggest problems we have in our league, and it's gotta get worked out, and there's a lot to work on, and he has acknowledged some of his fault, so it looks like he'll be
we'll help him out. We'll help him figure it out over the summer. But sorry, Dan, sorry you missed the podcast, but pick up Nick Foles real quick. That's my advice to you, at least to have the option. You got the acquisitions. So let's finish this thing off with a great debate topic real quick. And I love these type of questions. We're just throwing in great questions for you guys. Just great debate topic. This is non-sports related for you, but it comes from my man, James Black and Mild Billington. Beer or liquor? If you ask me, I drink liquor like I'm a dog surrounded by toilet water. Hennessy, baby. So beer or liquor, DDT? I think I know which way you're going.
Actually, my way, I love a Guinness, man. A Guinness lager, a beer with a little bit of Irish cream flavor in there, man. I mean, it's delicious. I'm not much of a beer alcohol drinker. I don't try to indulge too much in that, only socially. But I will say this: Sex on the Beach is always great. A Jack and Coke is always a nice, good, small, regular sitter. But a Corona, and of course, a Heineken. We must always acknowledge it.
Hashtag. So here's the thing, guys. In DDT, you're a youngster and you're still in the prime. You're just getting going. But as you get older, guys, to me anyway, this is how it works out to me. Is I was a very big beer connoisseur. If I was drinking alcohol, I was a beer connoisseur, going through the imports and everything like that. I've had beers as high as 13% alcohol. I went through a phase where I like to experiment and drink a whole lot of different kinds of beers. I'd buy those mix and match 6-packs. So I'd get a 6-pack of beer, but all of them would be different. Some of them were $3 beers for one bottle of beer. But man, when I made the decision just to stop drinking beer, I dropped 10 pounds instantly. So as you get older, you start thinking about those things. The beer is so fattening and calorie heavy, guys. You can't just sit there and drink through beer. So that's what I started thinking about. When I stopped drinking beer, I dropped 10 pounds and I lost 10 pounds and didn't really ever gain that back just from stopping drinking beer.
And there you go. It's not healthy for you. It's not. I love how you get all those like weird Facebook stories like, oh, if you drink beer for this amount of days and stuff like that, it's supposed to help you metabolism or yada, yada, yada. It's supposed to be a deficiency. It's supposed to be a downer. It's supposed to be a depressant. Okay? That's supposed to uplift you. But, everyone's got their preferences. I'm not too indulging into that. But, a good Guinness, a good Corona.
Well, like you said, I'm more about atmosphere. If I'm going to something like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that to watch a game and just maybe eat, then maybe I'll have a couple of beers. If I'm going to a bar or club setting and hanging out with friends and socializing and drinking alcohol, I'm probably going to order alcohol. If I'm buying something for my house, personally to have at the house and drink at the house and, make drinks or have a beer while I'm watching games or kicking back at home, then I'm drinking alcohol. I'm not necessarily Hennessy. Evan Williams is really my go-to, but Hennessy, that's the good stuff, man. We all can't afford the good stuff, but I understand that. And from his name, James Black and Mild Billington, I don't guess that's the only way you're throwing down there, James, the Black and Mild. I got you. I know what you're talking about. But Hennessy, baby. Thanks for the question. That's it. DDT, last words. Wrap it up real quick.
Obviously, first I want to say my condolences to Dan. My heart goes out to you. My prayers go out to you and your family in this time. And certainly, I hope to see you back here very soon. And other than that, guys, definitely keep staying tuned. Obviously, Premier League, as I cover soccer passionately, is back on. Match week 17 just ended today. I will have my top 5 stories coming out tomorrow or Friday on that. Match week 18 begins this weekend. And, of course, keep tuning in to My Fantasy Sports Talk. We got a lot of great writers, a lot of great stuff coming out. Star Wars is coming out, so the entertainment section is going to be buzzing with stuff. Doctor Who, the Christmas finale for Peter Capaldi is coming out, so I'm going to actually have something coming up together about the new Doctor we have, Jodie Whittaker, who is the 13th, the first female actor to play the role. So I'm looking forward to putting that out. And yeah, that's all I got coming up so far.
MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Check it out. Couldn't have put it any better myself. So thanks for joining us and on the My Fantasy podcast. Thanks to my co-host for the day who just wrapped it all up beautifully, DDT, Dylan Davis Trotter. Nothing more to say there, but just join us next week. No telling who's going to be around for My Fantasy podcast. Appreciate you for joining us. Check us out next week. See you later, podcast peeps. Peace.